Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200.
Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Merrill and Linda Hutchinson in the gym today. Woo. We are in my domain.
Oh, yes, we are.
Finally.
This is your space. This is your space.
It's my space. You can hear the echo and everything. Yeah. So why are we in my domain today?
Well, it is the beginning of the new year, and so we thought it'd be kind of fun to go on location and do a little fitness, show. Yeah,
so as you have heard many times before, we sometimes use a little tagline, faith, family, and fitness. But most of our shows, Hunt, are on faith and family and stuff like that. And once in a while, we'll do some fitness stuff. Yeah. But there's a reason, not just because I love fitness, but there's a reason that there is a fitness component to this. And a big part of that is because we deal with people's health and mental health all the time. And I not purposely discovered that, more accidentally discovered that for myself many years ago. When you knew when we first got married, I'd come home and be grouchy or moody, and you'd be like, you need to go for a run.
Absolutely. I knew that was the best antidepressant that there was. And it's natural and it's healthy. And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. And so we've incorporated into our ministry at Rock Solid Families. And we don't do a ton of shows on it because a lot of our listeners are more family bound in terms of the ministry and the marriages and stuff like that. But people come to our fitness classes all the time, and we talk about the importance of fitness there. But today what we want to do, and starting off the new year of 2023, is to actually talk about the fitness side of things. But a lot of people do not like to work out. Isn't that a shame?
That would be me. I mean, if it was a cold, snowy morning and our class needed to be canceled or I would cancel it, you would have it.
I would have it, and if nobody showed up, I would just work out. So, I don't know what's behind the wiring of all that. Like, I've never taken like a self-pride in that, like, well, look what I do. It's just wired in me that way. And you know that, like, I don't like brag about how much I would work out or anything, because it's just almost something like I do, just like you like to read and stuff, and that's something that you do. And so, but what we know, reading is good for people, even if they don't like to read. And also exercise is good, even if you don't like to do it. So what we want to talk about today is how we can maybe help people incorporate it more as, hey, if you're into workout, then maybe this show is going to be, I already know this. If you're not into it, how maybe you can learn to use fitness and exercise to improve your mental health, your marriage, even how you function within the house with the moods around the house and those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, Hun, I was a college athlete, but there were still things that you've taught me, because you're a certified personal trainer. You've taught me just about the art of exercising and the important elements to include. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today too, are the things that you want to include, which I really didn't understand growing up. Even in athletics, and so we're going to get to that. But before we do, we need to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, let's thank Maxwell Construction and Casey's Outdoor Solutions for being sponsors of the Rock Solid Radio. So we continue to go into 2023 with these guys as sponsors because they believe in our work and they believe in our community. And so we want to thank those guys for supporting our messaging.
Yeah. So let's get to it, Hun. We're going to have to kind of break it down, because there are a lot of people out there listening who really don't love to exercise. I don't love to exercise, but I know I need to. Yeah. So let's kind of break it down into, what it's going to take to stay healthy or get healthy.
Yeah. So the first thing, really, like, people will, this time of year, there's all these ads for exercise and for equipment and for gyms. And this is where people buy the treadmills that become coat hangers and stuff like that.
I would say we've never done that. We've never bought a piece of equipment that has sat.
No, it gets wore out.
It gets wore out.
Usually, yeah, I have to replace them. But many people, they understand the need, and so they kind of get excited and they start to work their mind around it. And so they'll buy many different pieces of equipment and things like that. And so let's just boil this down first off. Like, we are literally talking about physical movement, right? And so the best exercise that you can begin with is one that you are willing to do.
Yep.
Right? Let's not, even our kids thinking that if they get a gym membership, our daughter the other day was talking about, if I get this gym membership, I know I'll work out more. And we're like, we have a gym. Why would you have to do that? Well, but it would be different, right? And so there's a little bit of that romance involved with that new exciting thing. And I get, like, sometimes I used to go buy a new pair of running shoes because it would kind of help keep the streak going. But the bottom line is, you've got to do something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And that would mean, if you like walking, if you like going out and splitting wood, if you like hiking, if you like gardening, if you like swimming, like whatever it is, like that's a physical activity, then that's where we start.
Yeah, I remember, hon, when you and I first started dating, you were a triathlete, so you biked and ran and swam, and none of those things were my favorite. And I remember you thinking we would be workout partners,
Right.
I was an athlete, and so you just kind of thought that was going to be a dream of, the relationship, and it didn't go so well. And I remember you bought a bike for me that sat more than it was ridden, and eventually we just sold it.
Right.
And it just wasn't my thing, and so I had to find things that I enjoy. I love to walk, hike, things like that, but as far as biking and running, that's not my thing. That's been your thing.
Yeah, and so you're a perfect example, hon, that you always had the strength and the natural ability, but you always looked at exercise as a means to an end.
Yeah,
like,
or
I need to get
sports.
fit so I can play the game well.
Yeah.
Whereas I was wired that exercise in itself was the means to the
like
end.
that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, like, I don't have to sign up for a race. I'm just going to go out and just go for a run. And so, and that's okay either way, all right? But if it's just a means to an end, then you can lose track of, well, why do I need to do this? Because I'm doing okay in life.
Or
right?
when you're done with the sport, like I was after college, it wasn't even really something I wanted to do.
Right.
And that's not good. I love the fact that you have this life skill that you enjoy doing. And so we have done that in our gym here, incorporated, and I teach a class 3 days a week. And so there's a group of people, and really they're mostly retired, that come 3 days, 4 days a week just to stay healthy, stay moving and active. And they believe that it's been life-changing for them.
Yeah. And so the bottom line is, you first choose something that you're willing to do, that you have at least a relative liking for, okay?
Yeah.
And, just that it's not going to chase you away, that you dread it that much, okay?
Right.
And then after that, then you can start about, setting goals and things like that. But you just have to first get busy with it being part of your lifestyle.
Could you give some examples, hon, of different things? You mentioned some of them, but like what could be some other creative things that people could do to stay active and healthy that maybe don't involve a gym membership?
Yeah. So in fact, I would actually steer away from gym memberships oftentimes, because then you just get ridden with guilt. Unless you go into a gym and you get a personal trainer, or unless you are motivated enough.
Self-motivated,
you tend to go in there and you start to drift around, and you can think of other things to do to replace it. So literally, hon, the first thing I would talk about doing is find a time on your calendar. Like, on my calendar, I put on my phone calendar a section in there that says workout.
Yep, in the afternoon. You're a afternoon
I like
workout,
the afternoon workout.
And I like morning.
Yeah, and I put it in there, not because I'm going to do that every single day at that time, but it's that important that I want it to be part of that. And so first off, like, part of your schedule, part of the green space that you need in your schedule, that margin, is I need something that is motion, all right? And so some of the activities, hon, this can be as simple as, this is when I'm going to go to the mall. and I'm going to walk around.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to make fun of the mall walkers, but now it's like, especially when it's 17 degrees around here, mall walking doesn't sound bad.
Well, honey, you have to consider what we are now as a culture. If you went back 100 years ago, the average person on an average day walked 6 miles a day just to do life.
Yeah.
Just to do life, not to do any other thing. We now can go, I've had days where I barely broke 1,000 steps.
It's bad, yeah.
Yeah, because everything is right
in front
there
of
at
the
my
computer.
fingertips.
Yeah.
And so the idea now of, I just need to get up and I need to move and work. So simple walking like that, shopping, going out and gardening, going out and raking some leaves in the yard, piddling around in the yard, like doing a little project. And a lot of times when the weather's nice, that'll be my exercise time where I'm out building a wall or doing something. It's like, no, I'm getting plenty of exercise out here. So
Did you say shopping? I think shopping is a healthy thing for you.
Here's the key, guys. Shopping without a purse or wallet. Okay? No credit card, no
shopping
cash.
Is that
means walking. All right, so here are some things though that if you're going to really think about, and this happens as we get older. Like people don't realize what they miss until they miss it, right?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, well, I was fine until I was in my mid-30s, and now like my back kind of gets thrown out, or I can't even touch my toes anymore. And so those are the things that prompt us into saying, oh, I better go do something different.
Yeah.
And so some things that if you are in that range, some things that you need to think about are, okay, how am I going to go about this right so that I can do it on a more sustainable daily basis? All right, and here are some parts of the exercise that you just want to consider. All right, the warm-up. The warm-up is, we joke around here, our young guys, like my strong dads, they always show up 10 minutes late.
Because they don't.
Because they don't think they need the warm-up. And us old guys, we show up and we're like, oh my gosh, we need to start the warm-up 10 minutes earlier. The idea here is you actually do have, and especially as you get older, you have to prepare the mind-body connection so that you are preparing muscles to fire, getting blood deep within the muscle. So we talk about warming up. Actually, what we're doing there is we're just trying to get more blood circulating so we can get nutrient and oxygen to the deepest parts of those muscles and tendons. And so the warm up is important. If you just were sitting on the couch and you instantly sprint it out to the refrigerator or something like that, that's where we pull muscles, tear things, and get damaged just because there's not enough of the lubricant and nutrient there to take care of those
That'd
muscles.
be really bad if you're pulling a muscle going to the
Reaching
refrigerator.
for your beer. Yeah. Okay. The next thing, Hannah, that I have found to be really important is stability work. So in every one of our workouts, we do a warm-up to start, and then we do a period of stability. And stability is really, it can be for all ages, but these people in their mid-30s and older, when they just overlook the stability factor, this is where they get injured quickly, and then they quit their exercise because they go, every time I try to do this, I just get hurt. And stability is your ability to hold the joints in their proper place, okay? And so with stability, what I'm trying to do is I'm actually working the small muscles around the joint, all right? So can I demonstrate?
Yeah, because I'm serious. This is probably one of the most important parts of our workout that we do. That's really, really helped me. Stability.
All right, so I have a kettle bar here, all right? And so the kettle bar, the reason why I love the finisher and the kettle bar is because it naturally makes you learn stability. Stability, as I said, is more with the small muscles, and it's tightening up around the joint so that you keep that bone and joint connection solid, all right? And so let's just imagine for a second, I'll just use my arm. If I am going back and forth with my arm, what you'll see is if people are just working their strength, they will push out and they'll extend their arm. And so right now, if you could just imagine the top of the arm, the humerus, is actually kind of pulling out of the joint, right? Well, if I do that a lot, I'm gonna make the joint loose, all right? It'll get slack in it. So stability is when I teach the small muscles to fire and respond to keeping it in its proper place. So you'll hear me, Hannah, in a class say, keep your shoulders tucked back in their proper position. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the direction quickly so that the small muscles have to respond. All right, and what that's doing is it's actually keeping the shoulder, in this case, in its proper place. The same thing is with our spine, our lower back. People tend to pull their back out when they just randomly reach over off to the side and they pick something up, and all of a sudden one of those vertebrae just pops out a little bit. Stability in the lower spine is me standing upright and just quickly changing the direction, and I can feel the muscles around my spine just trying to keep my hips stable and in place. We like to do the circle because the circle actually takes me out in various angles, right? And so the whole idea here is I'm stabilizing all the way around the spine. We can do the same with the hips, where we actually are standing on one leg and that hip has to stabilize, and through the ankle. So stability is how I prevent injuring the joint itself. That's why it's important.
Yeah, and I know that it's really made a difference for me. Even something as simple as a simple airplane, where you're standing on one leg and you're doing an airplane, or a stability ball. I mean, those kind of things, I remember falling down a flight of steps on, and I know that it's because of this stability that I didn't get hurt worse than I did, because I had really stabilized and strengthened all the small muscles around my knee, around my ankle, around my hip, around, and it really made a difference. I mean, and the guys around here speak of that too.
And it's what keeps our older folks. It helps them with their balance. We do a lot of balance work in here as well, but I'm not going to do any of that per se just in this talk today. But it helps keep their balance. It helps that if they lose their balance, they can quickly pull back and correct so that they don't fall. So our older folks especially, this stability stuff is very important.
Yeah. Where does flexibility come in with all that?
So there's really two parts of the movement, and that is stability and mobility. Okay, and so mobility is how well the joint moves within its natural range. All right, and so the tighter muscles and tendons and ligaments can be, the more the motion will look different or look restricted. And so the very first thing you need is mobility. Like a little child, like when we're looking at our little grandchild, they look like little rubber bands.
Yeah, they put their knees to their nose.
And so babies are just over the top mobility, but they have no stability. And so that's why they're falling all over the place. But as we get older and joints get restricted due to injury, lack of use, then we have to work on mobility. And so certain just movements where I might take the shoulder all the way through a circle and making sure I can do that well. So your stretching is, when we talk about stretching, not everybody needs to stretch the exact same way. I might have a tighter hip complex and you might have tighter shoulders. And so I want to spend the time to work that particular joint where I need it.
So that goes in the warm-up part.
Actually, we want to do more deep stretching after the workout. There's actually more research that says that if you shut a muscle down so you can stretch deeply before you exercise, you will actually impede some of your performance. Okay, so that's why you do a very light warm-up, what we call dynamic stretching, which is like we do, just some movement, some lunges back and forth, some waves. That's just getting the blood moving and just kind of working the range of motion. But then if I go, man, I'm really kind of getting stuck in this particular range, then I want to work that in and of it by itself. Okay.
So we've got warm-up, we got stability with some flexibility, but then what do we go to next?
So this is huge. This next part is load or load bearing. And this is, I've never been a lover of this. Like, I like to move, but carrying heavy weight, like throughout the whole workout, is not my fun thing to do, okay? But load is important. And what load is, think of resistance training. Load is the idea that now I'm moving away from just the stabilizing muscles, and now I'm moving to what we call the prime movers or the big muscles. And as we get older, you've heard the phrase, if you don't use it, you will lose it. Your muscle, your body is so smart. God designed it in such a way that if you're not going to use it, we're not going to put energy into it, okay? And so we have this deterioration of muscle and then strength. and then that follows everything else, stability and everything else. And so what I have to do is consciously, I have to put excess load, that's load more than what I'm used to doing, and I have to make the muscle sustain it, okay? So just a general rule of thumb, at least 1 day a week for somebody who's in their 50s or older, and this is even younger as well, but like when we're working with our group that we work with here, I don't care if you're 60 or 70 years old. I want you to pick up a heavy weight, and I want you to do it safely and slowly, and I want you to sustain it. And it's all I'm trying to do is get the body to wake up and say, oh, I still need these muscles to do this.
Yeah, they love you when they have you do.
And we do farmers carries and deadlifts,
yeah,
and we'll do some
push-ups,
squats and holding push-ups. And it's for the sake of making their brain and body say, oh, I guess I still need this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they call you names when you have
They
them.
might call me names, but load is important.
Yeah.
And there's even been some pretty cool research on people in nursing homes, guys who are barely able to walk, and they will put them on stress loads. Not, nothing like we're doing power lifting or anything like that, but heavier stress loads, and they will see these people respond still, even in their 70s and 80s, 90s, to the point where they're walking better, they have greater stability, and so on. So very important.
Yeah, so it seems to be the younger you are, a lot of times they focus so much on the load,
Yes.
on the heavy weight,
Yep.
they kind of miss the stability and the smaller muscle groups, right? And it's kind of vice versa, where a lot of times older people don't spend as much time doing some load that they need as well.
Yeah.
And so it's not either or, it's and in both.
It's
right?
and in both, and depending on your age and depending on what you're doing, you can put more time into more areas. As we get older, we want to put more time into some stability and then some stretching in the tight areas and those kinds of things. But if you're young and you're trying to play football for a Division I college, you better get big and strong.
Yeah, you need some load.
Yeah.
It's funny because even our older folks, they'll say things like, I was able to move that couch a lot easier, or I was able to go shovel the snow a lot better. Things that they normally want to do, or carry in heavy, packs of water or whatever. It seems like it helps with everyday movement.
Right. The last component that we put into every one of our workouts, so there's the warm-up, there's the stability factor we want to be aware of, there's the load factor that we want to be aware of, okay? Of course, mobility is in all of this, but then there's the cardio component.
That's not my favorite.
And see, that's where I drift towards, but the cardio component is important, especially as we get older and if we're sedentary, because we get buildup of a lot of plaque and the fats and stuff, the bad fats within our blood vessels, and we build up blood glucose levels, and then we become insulin resistant, meaning that we've got all the sugar and we're trying to pump insulin into the body, and the body's not responding because we keep overloading it, and then we become diabetic, type 2 diabetes, all right? And so the cardio in general can just help suck that sugar out of the blood, but it also, the main benefit here is that it keeps the heart muscle itself strong, okay? And so cardio is not just about how high you can get your heart rate. In fact, oftentimes a high heart rate is a sign that you're not in good shape. It's really, you have your own range of heart rate, and you have your resting heart rate up into your max work heart rate. The key here with cardio is how well you can fluctuate depending on the activity or the demand within a given time. So if I can respond quickly by getting my heart rate up, and then I can rest and pull it down quickly, that's when I'm in shape. For cardio, that's how, like in the spring when I start riding my bike, that's how I know I'm not in shape yet for cardio, because I might climb a hill that I could climb last year when I was in good shape, but now it takes me another mile to catch my breath and bring it back.
So that's that recovery time.
It's that recovery time.
Yeah.
And that's what allows us to stay fresher and work longer and harder and those kinds of things. So cardio is extremely important. And cardio, again, is one of those things. You do not have to go out and climb mountains or anything like that. But again, if I want to improve my cardio, I have to put an added stress on. So one thing that we know that has helped greatly with cardio, if you just went out and you walked a mile, okay, and you got your heart rate up to, let's just say 125 beats, okay? Well, okay, that's good. It's not a bad thing. But if that's the most you ever ask of your heart, then that's as good as you're going to get. And so what is actually more beneficial is to go out and walk, but then put surges in, like maybe like we used to call them fartlicks, right? Or we would
Telephone poles.
Telephone poles, right? Where you say, you know what, from this telephone pole to this telephone pole, I might go into a jog or a very quick walk, right? So that I can get the heart rate up to maybe 145. And then see if I can get it back down between the next two mailboxes. So it's getting that variability. That's what flexibility within our fitness is really what we're talking about. Can you reach out and get the task, and then can you recover from it?
Yeah, so as we wrap up this fitness show, Hun, maybe talk a little bit about the benefits. I mean, why bother? You know, 'cause some people are like, I'm fine here on my couch, or I'm sitting here at my desk and I'm good. So thanks, Merle, but I'm not really interested. What are the benefits that we can see in 2023 if we would start a new habit of fitness?
Well, one of the first things I'll just have to say, and you remember Dr. Greg Meyer we had on when we were talking more, he was from Children's Hospital at the time, but he was like, the number one epidemic that is we are now in and facing for our future is obesity and type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
More so than anything else. And so even though it seems like, well, you know, that's just a medical condition and it's not affecting me right now, it's knocking on our door, okay? And so the number one thing right now is us realizing our body can only handle so much junk. And we've got to realize, so exercise is a huge way to deal with the whole blood glucose levels and the diabetes that's knocking on your door. So that's one huge benefit.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm feeling convicted.
Yeah, well, it's just
Junk,
a big,
holidays, they kind of go together, right? Which I think is
I'm
why
guilty.
January is
Right.
such a big
Yeah.
fitness push for people. Not to mention, Hun, the natural doses of dopamine we get and the shift in our attitude. And when it's dark and when it's cold and, you know, you're not able to get out as much and see the sunshine as often, we need an attitude adjustment. And so exercise can be that.
We started the show with the idea of exercise is a natural antidepressant, and really what it is a natural dopamine producer, which is kind of the medicine, so to speak, for the depression. And so if you are struggling, and I struggle with the winter blues, all right, and if you're struggling with it, exercise is the way to change the mood quickly, to boost yourself. It helps get you through. A benefit of exercise can be that I can change my attitude, and it can get me 5, 6, 7 hours of just feeling a whole lot different and better. Now that might mean I have to go do it again the next day.
Yeah,
okay?
It doesn't last.
But I'd rather do that than take a pill every 5 or 6 hours.
Okay. Not to mention the strength and the conditioning that we get when we have this in a routine. You know, you invented finishing 10 years ago, and we've been doing these classes for the last 10 years, and I've been doing it pretty faithfully Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, and it's huge. It's a huge part of my week and my day, and it changes my feelings and attitude, but it also strengthens me to be able to carry that laundry up and down the steps or be able to shovel that driveway from the snow. And so if we want to be strong and healthy, then this is how we got to do it. Got to put the work in.
Well, we just had our grandkids over before Christmas, and you and I didn't really think twice about running around with them. You know, picking them up, carrying them up and down stairs, going out in the yard and playing. So
I was even at the top of a huge slide. I climbed up this big thing. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had not been working out.
And so these are, it's overall quality of life that exercise helps to preserve. And so that's a huge benefit. And here are just some of these benefits are the reasons why people actually go to it. My clothes fit better. All right?
You always call it your winter weight.
I look better. I feel better. My clothes fit better. So these are even some of the more superficial benefits, but they're benefits, right? They're motivating factors that keep us going. So here's the bottom line, Hun. From a faith-based perspective, we have taken our body, the temple that we have been given, where the Holy Spirit resides, where we can be acting as the hands and feet of Christ, where Christ can reside in us. And that means that Christ is not like this magical thing that then just makes everything great for us. His Spirit, the Holy Spirit, lives in us, and then we are to go out and we are built then for works, right? We talked a little bit about that the other day. If I have all these great ideas in my mind, but I can't do them because I've not taken care of my temple, then I'm kind of slapping God in the face.
Yeah.
And so it really is more than just like, well, who can lift the most weight or run the fastest? It's really how well are you taking care of your temple, because there's work to be done.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this in many shows. We've been given things to be stewards of,
right?
Whether it be our time, our talents, our treasures, our bodies as a temple. You know, it's not ours. It belongs to the Lord, and He's given it to us to use wisely and to use for His glory. And so if we're not taking care of this temple, we're not able to serve Him, we're not able to glorify Him in the best way possible. And so we really want to take care of this temple.
Yeah. All right. So we're coming into 2023. Your challenge is get yourself in shape. Now, your challenge is to really think about that. You know, how could you start to partake in exercise? How would you approach it? If you need help with this, reach out to us, all right? I'm not here to sign you up for a lifetime membership. I just don't, that's not how we operate. Let's get you started. These are things that we want you to be able to do on your own. If you have to wake up every day and you have to call your coach to get you to work out, we probably did not sustain very well with putting that message out. So
you have actually met with people, did a one-on-one session, and really just did kind of a baseline evaluation on where you're at, and then a conversation about what you enjoy doing and a little bit of a plan to get where you want to go. And so if Merrill can help you with that, that's his thing. And so please give us a call at 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-7625. Or you can contact us at rocksolidfamilies.org, because we're all about faith, family, and fitness.
All right, so we want to thank all you for watching out there and continuing to share our shows. Please give us 5-star ratings, a thumbs up on that. Also, we want to thank Maxwell Construction along with Casey's Outdoor Solutions for sponsoring Rock Solid Radio. So go out there and build a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day.
Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana.